Handling high balls to the forehand is a tough shot for a lot of players, but mechanically speaking, the technique required to hit a high ball is pretty much the same as the technique you would use on a normal forehand, a forehand that's about waist high. On a normal forehand, you're going to take the racket back, drop your arm and the racket down, and then swing forward to your contact point. And that applies to the high ball as well, but the difference is when you take the racket back, it doesn't drop down as far. Your arm and your racket are going to stay a little bit higher, and then you're going to swing forward to your elevated contact point. That's the only difference between the high ball and then the normal ball. To illustrate this point, we've got Oliver Ackley's forehand split screened. The forehand furthest away from me is the normal forehand, and the one closer to me is the high ball. And what you're going to see when he takes his racket back and then swings forward on these two shots is that the racket and his arm are going to stay higher on the high ball. Now, if we play these two shots again and we draw a line through his respective swing paths, it becomes a little more clear that the racket and his arm are staying higher on the high ball than they are on the normal forehand, where his contact point is lower down around his waist. Now, the other thing you need to keep in mind when hitting the high ball is that your hitting arm position, the relationship between your racket and your arm, is going to stay the same. You'll probably have a bend in your elbow and your wrist will be laid back when you're holding the tennis racket. And at the contact points here, the respective contact points, you can see that that is what Oliver's got. He's got a bend in his elbow and his wrist is laid back when he's holding the tennis racket. And you can kind of see also that on the normal forehand, if we just took that racket position and raised it up, then you would be at his contact point on the high ball. So like I said before, really the only difference between the waist-high forehand and then the higher one is you're keeping your racket and your arm on a higher level, but everything else, including the arm and racket relationship you have, stays the same when you hit the shot.